Hello and welcome to a Wheels Boy quick review. I always try to be honest with you, the audience, and so I have to tell you this is not the car that I thought I would be reviewing today. At first, I thought I was going to be driving the new Trumpchi Shadow Leopard sports sedan, and I was very excited. Then I found out they couldn't give us that. So I said, how about an MG6 Pro, the trophy edition? Still pretty fun, right? No, they didn't have that either. So instead, we're going to be driving this, the MG5. Not particularly exciting, but still a good glimpse at what it is MG is doing here in the Chinese market. Let's get started. We'll start here on the front end, as we usually do, and you can see MG has their own interpretation of the big guppy or catfish mouth that you see on a lot of cars these days. As far as this kind of design language goes, I have to say, not too bad. It has a nice sporty look to it. That also includes the shape of the headlights here, which I find very nice. And, in case you didn't know these sporting pretenses, there's a little bit of carbon fiber down here on the lip. Is it real or not? I don't know, but it still looks good. As we come along to the side profile, I should probably explain, we don't have very much time with this car, which is why we're filming it on the side of the road instead of finding a beautiful shooting location like we normally would. Sorry about that. But still, you can get an idea of the general shape of this vehicle, which is, I would say, quite attractive. My favorite part is this chrome strip that extends down here back to the end. And the overall shape of the roofline, in my opinion, resembles that of a Mercedes-Benz CLA. A handsome car, so that is a compliment. Heading along to the rear end, the sporty design language is continued with a very nice lower plastic diffuser as well as dual exhaust tips. This particular version of the MG5 is the 180D VVT, kind of a middle of the range version that features a CVT transmission instead of the manual or the 7-speed DCT. We'll talk more about power in a moment. One thing I want to point out here is the MG5 can come with an optional rear spoiler, but this one was installed by the owner. This is not the original one, and I have to say, not very well done. Popping open the trunk to have a look at rear cargo space. The official number is 400 liters, and I have to say that looks about accurate. Decent amount of space, especially in terms of the depth. Oh. Taking a step inside, let's have a look at the interior. First thing I want to point out is that this has been used as a test car or a test drive car for quite some time, so the condition is not ideal, including the dirtiness of, well, everything. However, we can still get an impression of the overall design language, and I have to say, much like the exterior, very sporty. Everything seems to be somewhat driver-oriented, including the angle of the main screen here, as well as all the buttons as well. Here we have the transmission knob. The only thing that I find noteworthy about it is the textured material here on the front end, which reminds me of nothing more than that of the interior of my 1998 Mazda pickup truck that I drove back in the US. Not a compliment. That's not very nice. Other than that, decent amount of space here in the center console and some interesting patterns throughout, including here on the dashboard, as well as touches of carbon fiber on the door panel and here on the dash as well. Finally, we have some nice touches of color with this white and red pattern. Coming around to the rear seating area, we can see that there is a continuation of the design language from the front, including the touches of carbon fiber here on the door panel, as well as the nice red and white materials that add a splash of color. Here in the center, we have a single USB port. Obviously, two would be better, but this is a pretty cheap car. Speaking of cheap, this thing comes in at about $11,000 to $16,000 US here in the Chinese market. This particular car probably is around $13,000 or $14,000. Other than that, let's see, we have some decent leg room here, but headroom is pretty tight, mostly as a result, I'm sure, of this pretty sloping roofline, but this being a compact car, it is acceptable. So behind the wheel of the MG5, as I mentioned before, this has a CVT transmission in this spec that is combined in this mid-level or lower tier car with a naturally aspirated 1.5 liter four-cylinder, making 88 kilowatts and 150 newton meters of torque, or 120 horsepower and about 111 pound-feet. The result is lackadaisical acceleration, as you would expect. There is a more powerful 173 horsepower, 133 kilowatt version of the car, but this is not that one. This is more of an entry-level spec. So, despite the fact that the exterior makes a lot of promises regarding sporting intentions, as does the interior design, I'm not getting a lot of that. The same goes for the steering as well. MG cars are, of course, not known especially for their speed. They're known for their handling. So how does it work in that respect? Not particularly great. The steering is adjustable in terms of weight, but no matter what weight you use, there's not a whole lot of feedback coming through the front wheels. This is front-wheel drive, of course. Overall, no, not particularly good. And I would hope that, maybe it would at least be very comfortable. It's not particularly comfortable. It has McPherson struts up front, torsion beam in the rear, and the combination is not particularly great. Doesn't ride very comfortably. Pretty good amount of NVH, to be honest. Overall, I'm not blown away. It's very cheap. If I was to get a version of this car, I would get the 5-speed with the naturally aspirated four-cylinder, and that might be able to wring out just a little bit more of the driving fun. So my big takeaway from this car, well, I had high expectations coming into it, and I couldn't help but have high expectations. MG is such a well-known brand for creating light, lithe sports cars that I was hoping they could inject a little bit of that DNA into this car. But while the exterior appearance and the interior design make some promises regarding sporting intentions, that naturally aspirated 1.5 in this CVT transmission really just can't deliver. So there you have it. That was my first time behind the wheel of any MG ever, and I have to say, I wasn't really blown away. But I have not given up on the MG brand, not by a long shot. I look forward to driving something like the MG6, for example, especially the X-Power version, and seeing what it is they can really do when they get their sporting intentions in line. All right, thank you so much for watching today's video. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, links in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching.